The 80s and 90s were truly a special time in the film industry, weren't they? And today, I'm looking at one of the greats from the 90s in The Rock. Not far off being 25 years old, The Rock is one of those films I look back on with nothing but fond memories. A cool story, plenty of action, and a villain, if you can really call him that truly began a shift on how we as the viewer perceives the bad guys on screen. Now, we'll speak at length on Ed Harris's General Hummel shortly, as he is, at least to me, the reason why this film is on a whole other tier. This is a grade A film, no doubt, and no questions about it, and leading the front line with a duo of Sean Connery and, in one of his best films, Nicolas Cage. Now, Nick Cage might get a lot of grief for some of the shockers he's been in before. Some are, okay, warranted for that, but he has in fair been a part and starred in at least a few very strong films, and The Rock could very well be the best film he has ever been a part of. His character, Stanley Goodspeed, is paired alongside veteran SAS agent John Mason to brilliant effect. Goodspeed's inexperience in the field was necessary here because he is one of the only people skilled enough to defuse the weapon on display, which is VX poison gas. 1 teaspoon of this stuff is capable of wiping out anything within an 8-block radius. Lethal is an understatement, and Goodspeed was brought along to defuse not 1, not 2, but 15 warheads full of this stuff. His team has the familiar face of Michael Biehn's Commander Anderson leading the way. He's not got a huge role here, but he's used well and only serves to further emphasise Hummel's reluctance with what he has to do. So, since I've mentioned him again and we've circled back to him, let's talk about the best character in the film, General Hummel. To start with, to me, he is not a villain through and through. If anything, he is an anti-hero who goes about getting the right thing the wrong way. Ed Harris gives us one of his best performances ever with this role, and his speech, hell, all of his speeches have you listening to every word. Who wouldn't follow this guy if he was your leader on the battlefield? He really started a turning point for villains in films because he is truly complicated. No, he is not an out-and-out bad guy. In fact, all his life, he has been the good guy. He is, as they call him, a legend and someone that others look to for inspiration. Normally around this time in films, the bad guys were very one-dimensional, seeking money, power, riches and such. Here though, Hummel is seeking compensation for the 83 men he lost during his tenure. Since his undercover ops were never disclosed and remained a secret, neither payments nor even a military burial were given to the men who died under his service. He quite rightly seeks those things to be put right, and he'd tried everything he could during his career to get justice done. But you know the government, it's the same today, never too eager to hand out any money, are they? Well, Hummel felt this was the only way to get their attention and sought $100 million, $1 million for each of the fallen Marines and the rest to be given to him and his men. A noble cause, a sympathetic one even. You can understand his frustration. He isn't evil. Captains Fry and Darrow fill those roles easy enough, but this is the reason why Hummel is one of the best anti-heroes to ever grace our screens, and to this very day I believe that statement remains true, and Ed Harris's performance in the role makes The Rock stand apart from many of its other peers. And that is who our leading pair are going up against. Yeah, no easy task at that. Now, I wanted to talk about Sean Connery a little earlier in this, but I just couldn't wait to get around to Hummel, so let's get to it. Retired, rough around the edges, not all his fault, he's been in jail for 30 years, but Mason played the perfect opposite of Nick Cage's Goodspeed. He's incredibly skilled, even if he's been at the game for a while, few decades here or there, but why did they need him in particular? Well, he's the only man to ever escape the destination our film takes place in on Alcatraz Island. Aptly named The Rock, this prison is one that has never been broken out of, except for him. That info still of course is kept under wraps, but he is a professional escape artist whose unique knowledge of this facility was needed to get the SEAL team successfully inside. Essentially, both Mason and Goodspeed are the two specialists aboard this mission, and after that horrific trap that took every one of the SEAL team out in the shower room, it was only our duo left to try and save the city of San Francisco from a catastrophic chemical disaster. Now, saying that the film's central focus is on Alcatraz, the SEAL team doesn't actually arrive there until basically the midway point in the film. The rest of it was trying to get Mason to play ball. Being locked up without a trial for 30 years is bound to ruffle a few feathers, but I have to say, the chase scene where the cops and Goodspeed are trying to catch Mason is just phenomenal. One of the best chase sequences that's not too over the top. Yeah, I know half of San Francisco was wrecked in the chase, but come on. Everyone, find me one person that didn't like this chase scene. I dare you. And if it's you, slap yourself in the face because it is fan-bloody-tastic. So many scenes are like that in the film. Aside from that chase sequence, I have to say the scene where Hummel realised he'd lost control of the situation is probably my favourite one. Acted again to perfection, that voice crack emphasised he'd lost control right there of this mission. To him, it was a bluff. To his close friend, Major Baxter, he knew it was a bluff. Problem is, the mercenaries they brought along didn't have that line of thinking. Money, power sound familiar. Fry and Darrow were the two rotten apples in the bunch and sought to relieve the general and take control for themselves. Hummel, Baxter and Crisp, I think his name was, all lost their lives in this encounter. It was the best scene in the film in my book, but there are so many to choose from. I'm not even going to try to name any more now. The Rock is about one man trying to find justice for his fallen comrades. After exhausting himself and all other avenues, he's had enough. And the conflict in the action scenes comes in a close second to the moral choices General Hummel was forced to choose between. His tragic story is what makes this film special, and a reason why I always love going back to rewatch this film every now and then. My overall verdict for The Rock is a 9 out of 10. By the way I've been talking about it, you knew this was going to be a high score, but I feel it is definitely deserving of it. Now I have to mention this, aside from the standout main cast, what would you say is pivotal to this film? What can make or break any film? The answer I'm looking for in this instance is the music, or the soundtracks. And this one was done by Hans Zimmer of all people. Knocking it out of the park is an understatement with what he did. Hans Zimmer is just the man. His soundtracks, especially in that opening scene, are absolutely phenomenal. The opening gives me chills every time I watch it. It's one of my favourite openings to a film ever, and when you get the music right, it just adds so much more to a scene. It sets the tone really. Starting like that, you are going to have my full attention. Those opening 7 minutes were brutally awesome and gave us more than enough time to see why Hummel is taking such drastic measures. The film's pace also doesn't let up. We don't have any lulls or downtime really, and the little scenes that we do tie in to the overall story arc. It's action, exposition, execution, all at once. Put that together with the array of talent leading the line, it was a recipe that just couldn't fail. Just think about this too. This is a Michael Bay film. A Michael Bay film, can you believe it? He gets a lot of flack, which is warranted, especially in some areas, but this was far earlier in his career, and wouldn't you know it, this is easily one of his best pieces of work. Now, I've talked about Hummel at length already, so I won't go into him anymore. Probably close to half the review if I'm thinking about it. But let's not forget about his right-hand man, Major Baxter. David Morse is 100% behind the man that is General Hummel. He may not say it, but you feel he knows what Hummel is thinking. He knows Hummel would never on his own accord kill all these innocent people, and he stood by his loyal friend till the very end, and they went down together, side by side. Hey, at least both Captain Fry and Captain Darrow got what they had coming to them, with Fry being consumed by that small, deadly little poison pearl. I really enjoyed that little skirmish down in the mines thinking about other scenes. Mason's badass manoeuvre which got them through the fire bit was also a cool section, along with Mason just flat out calling out Hummel on if he was going to execute him and one of the civilians. Those were just some other little highlights. Now, I'll touch upon this theory even though I don't personally believe it, but nonetheless it is an intriguing one that sparks some interest. Some people think that Mason is actually an older James Bond. I've read that theory quite a long time ago, I think it was. I see the hints there, similar lines, such and such, but again, it's an interesting theory, but nah, I don't think so. I like the idea, I do, but not one that I would look too much into. It's rare to come across a film where you can understand the sides of both parties involved, and thanks to Hummel, The Rock succeeds with flying colours and remains to this very day a marker for more complicated and complex villains. He was helped by everything and everyone else involved, and I've thrown nothing but praise in the film's direction, so do you agree with my high praise for this film? And let me know your thoughts and feelings about The Rock down in the comments. Also, let me know your viewpoint about Hummel's character from your point of view. And as always, thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe if you enjoyed the review. And I'll see you on the next one.
Mason! You alright?
Yes, perfectly okay, you fucking idiot.